The single greatest role that I have ever even considered is the one that is right here today.
Change is coming to the NDIS.
To potentially see people with disabilities look on the scheme and see themselves as chair, as a chunk of the board, I think that's an exciting time.
Three-time Paralympic gold medalist Kurt Fearnley was just appointed chair of the National Disability Insurance Agency. He's the first person with a disability to hold that position since it was established in 2013.
To put people with disability back at the heart of it, and I got to give you credit, last week I almost got up and walked, I was that excited when Kurt Fearnley got announced as the chair of the NDIA.
Today, Australian of the Year Dylan Alcott added his latest contribution, handing over a major report to the government.
Thanks for this report. I look forward to hearing what you have to say now.
Released by Alcott's organisation Get Skilled Access, it recommends a major overhaul for providers with greater employment support for people with disability, reducing housing wait times and making sure participants are at the centre of decision making.
There are 4.5 million people with disability in this country. Physical, non-physical, visible, invisible, but only 500,000 on the NDIS.
Dylan also believes it's time to expand the $32.9 billion scheme and stop seeing it as a cost to the taxpayer.
For every dollar spent on the NDIS, $2.25 goes back into our economy.
And right now, the government is listening, and change may finally be on the way.
So we want to change the way that disability is perceived in this country, look at the whole person, and fundamentally change the conversation about the future of the National Disability Insurance Scheme.
And Dylan Alcott joins us now. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Let's talk. So 4 million people with a disability who aren't on the NDIS. Who are we talking about here? Who do you want in?
Do you know what we're talking about? We're talking about our friends, our colleagues, people in the audience right now, right? Not all people with disability are high-level disabilities that you can physically see, like someone like me, for example, and they might not be able to access the NDIS, but there needs to be a tier 2 scheme whereby the state governments, federal governments, local governments, mainstream providers work together so all people with disability get the supports they need. And I think when the NDIS happened, it's so bloody awesome, the NDIS. It has had 10 years of great success, and the first 8 pages of our report talk about all the benefits of that, the first third of it. And I want everybody, all Australians, to read it so you know where your taxpayer money is going and how awesome it is. But when the NDIS came out, some of these people lost their funding and they were left in the abyss a bit, and we want to make sure that they get supported, whether it's NDIS or not, to make sure they're included to be the people they want to be as well.
So what you're proposing is ambitious, and that's exactly your job, is to be ambitious. But the figures are incredible. So you're 500,000 on the NDIS, 4 million not. Whether it's the NDIS or some other scheme, if you're looking at full coverage there, that's like increasing it by 900%. How do you go from where we are to a 900% increase?
You use streams that are already there. The DSP, for example, making sure people with neurodiversity and all range of disabilities get the supports they need, and whether it is through mental health plans or whatever it is. But what it's about is not everybody can be on the NDIS, right? And that's all right. But for the people that need to be on it and demand-driven, they need to get the supports. Often the money has been caught up in the red tape. People are going to court to try and defend themselves. That's for so much money that could go to families of kids who are neurodiverse so they can get carers. So young people with disability can have a shower every day. Like, that's what it needs to go towards. And I think by getting, mainstream providers, but also local governments, state governments, federal governments, with all the programs that currently exist, communicating better with each other and figuring out ways to make sure that they get the care and the support they need so all people with disability feel like they are backed by this country.
How receptive has the government been? Like, Bill Shorten looked happy to get your report. Beyond that, what's the response?
I'm really buoyant. I don't want to, go too far, but I mean, I meant what I said when Kurt Fearnley got named as the chair. Like, I can't tell you how excited I was, right? I'll tell you why, because lived experience is getting listened to. And that's what it is. Our report, the main thing is put people with disability back as the leaders of the conversation, not only as chairs of the board, but also the board representation, but also listen to the participants, right? If they need more flexibility in how they spend their money, give it to them, because they know what they need, right? But also empowering people that work within the sector who aren't disabled to better understand disability and get them the support so they can work better as well. I've got to credit Bill, I've got to credit the Prime Minister. There is a real good feeling in the community. I don't speak on behalf of everyone, but we talk to 20 disability leaders in the sector, big providers, peak providers. We talk to hundreds of participants, and they're all feeling the good thing as well. However, they're just words on a page, unless everybody works together to get it out there and governments back it. And look, yeah, as you can hear my voice, I'm excited about it, and it's cool to come on here and not talk about the negative parts of the NDIS or whatever it is. All we do is hear about the costs and how it's a pain. we do not talk about the benefit and how awesome it can be, and I think changing that narrative is very important.
And the appointment...
If the government is where you think it is, how long until something concrete happens? Like, are you looking over a 2-year period, 5 years? Like, how would you assess it?
Yeah, look, I'm not going to quantify the exact number, but what I will say is there's 10 pretty recommendations, big recommendations in there, and the government accepted all of them to explore all of them. We made this with them as well. They were part of the consulting process, and that's very different. I mean, we all have experience in working in government, or people come on the show, whatever. It's not normally that collaborative, and that's really, really cool. So I don't know, but even if we start ticking them off one by one, I want to look back in 3 years, 5 years, and be like, we did all that. And look, it's not going to be perfect for everybody, the NDIS, but we just want to... There are so many people who have a great experience, but unfortunately, a few too many that have a bad experience, and we just want to minimise that as much as we can.
So quickly go back to Kurt. He's the first chair of the NDIA with a disability. What does that mean for people with disabilities to see somebody in that role?
Look, it's massive. I remember the first time I saw myself on this show. This was the first show I ever went on in a disability. And I was like, wow, like this guy in a wheelchair has been himself on there, right? Kurt is smarter than me, better looking than me, better at sport than me, and he is the man that is perfect to lead this. But also the other representation on the board is absolutely incredible. He's going to do such a good job. I also want to thank the 300 people that have come up to me this week and congratulated me on my new role as the chair. I'm not Kurt. However, one guy actually offered to buy me a beer and I said yes, which is very nice of him. But yeah, it's an exciting time and I hope this supports in any way and I reckon he's going to do a bloody good job.
I prefer Kurt's smile, but I prefer your eyes. So it's a close call about the better-looking one. Yeah, it's a really close call. Oh, they twinkle. They still twinkle.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me on, everyone. I appreciate it.